Rob, Judy, people may have sticker shock. The Cook County Treasurer's Office has been analyzing the new tax bills and says that citywide, the median residential bill jumped more than 16%. That's the biggest increase in at least 30 years. The Treasurer's Office says city spending increased and there are fewer commercial spaces to pay their share of the pie. Treasurer Maria Pappas says there has been a sharp drop in the value of downtown commercial buildings, paying about $120 million less this cycle. That's because of higher vacancy rates over the years.
It went down in a landslide and it's coming back like a snail, slowly, very slowly, and not fast enough to handle these residences who are carrying the burden of it, because many of them are unrented. Many of these places are unrented. The taxes went down. What happened was the residences ended up picking up the bulk of these tax increases.
And the hardest hit, predominantly black and brown communities on the south and west sides. In West Garfield Park, bills soared 133%. North Lawndale saw a 99% spike. And in Inglewood, taxes climbed more than 80%. The treasurer says many of those homes have been undervalued before the most recent assessment, which is done every 3 years.
Chicago's 2026 budget is blown wide open, and instead of Brandon Johnson fixing the problem, he wants to raise taxes on the very businesses on whom he is depending, who are already fleeing the city in droves. Downtown commercial property vacancy rates stand at as high as an average of 30%. Even if just a handful of the businesses that are left leave, the entire tax base of Chicago is going to collapse. And we're already seeing neighborhoods that are experiencing property tax increases as high as 100%. But what's coming next could push Chicago to the point of no return. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, drop a hype.
There are not any magic third options between cuts to core services and layoffs and revenue. Anyone who wants to pretend otherwise is being disingenuous. We stand behind the progressive revenue that we have put forward because this moment calls for those with means to put more skin in the game.
And that's Brandon Johnson's only solution: tax the rich. The businesses that are already leaving, he wants to tax them even more. I guess thinking that maybe businesses won't leave if they have to pay more to do business in Chicago. I really want us to walk away from this video and really understand exactly what's going on and exactly why Brandon Johnson's plan is so bad. Take a look at this.
Austin, Cook County is ground zero right now for what may be a brewing property tax revolt. We've seen this kind of thing before back in the 70s in California and Massachusetts, where property tax hikes led to a real movement among voters. So what is going on in the Chicago area, and does this have the possibility of becoming a real movement there as well?
We just saw a report yesterday from the Cook County Treasurer's Office, and it showed that Chicago residences, so this is just residential property taxes, saw their largest property tax increase in 30 years. The median bill went up 16% in just 1 year. And people automatically think, well, okay, local government's hiking property taxes, but that's actually not the whole story. While Chicago Public Schools, for example, is raising property taxes, the real big gut punch came from the fact that in the loop, in the downtown core, commercial property values are going down. They went down 7%. So who makes up that cost? It's homeowners. And the treasurer said it really well. It's when the loop gets a cold, the rest of the city gets pneumonia. So that's why it's so important to protect our downtown core, to not pile on new taxes on businesses, because then everybody else's property taxes go up.
Austin, I saw an interview with Maria Pappas. She's the Cook County treasurer, and she said, well, first of all, the overall price is increases 16%, but in some of the probably poorest, most minority areas like Garfield and what were the other ones? Inglewood. I mean, their property taxes are going up 80, 90, 100%. And so, and she was saying basically like, look, you don't have to pay on December 15th. On December 16th, you can sign up for a payment plan and, pay 13 months, installments over 13 months. And oh, by the way, we've decreased the interest rate from 18% to 9%. And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, that doesn't really sound like an answer to me. That sounds like you're just, people are still going to have to pay this. They're outraged by it. And just because it puts it on a payment plan. And oh, by the way, we get charged our property taxes every 6 months. And so what are we going to do in 6 months when they get another bill that's 100% more? And then 6 months after that, they're going to be still paying for this year's property taxes when they have to sign up for another. I mean, it's crazy to me.
So you hear it right there. These are individuals who are actual economists who are offering their opinion on what's going on with the city of Chicago, not a fifth grade elementary school teacher. They're letting you know that the property values in the city of Chicago and the downtown corridor went down. Their assessed value went down, so the amount of taxes that they pay went down. The budget from last year is already passed. So if they don't have enough tax revenue coming from downtown, they have no other place to pull it from other than residential areas. And I can tell you, on my radio show, I've had scores of conversations with individuals on the west and the south sides who will complain and say, oh, the mayor's office is spending all of this money downtown. Richard Daley and Rahm Emanuel, they're spending all this money downtown because they don't care about the west and the south sides of Chicago because they're racist, because that's where all the black people live, on the west and the south sides predominantly. So now they're experiencing why these executives were prioritizing downtown. That's where the majority of the money comes from. This is not just true for Chicago. This is true for every blue city. Whether you're talking about New York, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Memphis, every major city gets the majority of their revenue from their downtown corridor. So take a look at this map. This is showed earlier in the video, and you take a look at these three areas. You're looking at North Lawndale, West Garfield Park, and you're looking at Inglewood. Look at those median household incomes. You're talking about household incomes in the upper 30s and lower 40,000s of dollars. Household income generally means there's more than one person working there. So we know that these areas that are hardest hit don't have the revenue to pay this amount in property taxes. They can't afford it. That's why it's so incumbent on Brandon Johnson to make absolutely certain that he is not taxing or overtaxing the businesses that are left in downtown, because if they leave, these taxes in these areas where people can least afford it is only going to increase more.
This year's property taxes when they have to sign up for another. I mean, it's crazy to me the way that they're handling this.
The great cruelty of this budget season, and we're right in the middle of budget season in Chicago, and budget season in Chicago is like what Drew Carey used to say on Whose Line Is It Anyway, which is the rules are made up and the points don't matter. So it's chaos right now in budget season. But Brandon Johnson, the mayor, his entire goal, his entire narrative has been, we have to tax the big corporations downtown in order to invest in Chicago's Black and minority communities, right? The problem is, Chicago's Black neighborhoods are seeing the highest property tax increases they've ever seen as a result of this. So you said West Garfield Park, it's up, it's basically double. Lawndale, basically double. Englewood, basically double. It's not, and it's double because of the stance that the mayor has taken against economic growth and against businesses. Because when you don't have those businesses coming to the downtown core, the rest of us have to make that up on our property tax bills.
And he's proposing a head tax, this crazy head tax. And he just said yesterday at a press conference that there's no correlation between taxing corporations and their success or something. I mean, it was like, I could not believe I heard those words come out of his mouth.
I talked about that statement that Brandon Johnson made, that there's no correlation between the taxes that a company pays and its success. And I said in that video, that is the most ignorant, benighted thing I've ever heard a politician ever say about anything economics related. And Brandon Johnson will tell you, businesses aren't going to leave. They love Chicago. All we're asking them to do is pay just a little bit more, put a little bit more skin in the game, because businesses haven't left the city of Chicago to date, right?
Valleys may be coming, but new at 5, we're learning Boeing is leaving. The aerospace giant is moving its headquarters to Arlington, Virginia, saying it wants to be close to key customers like the Pentagon.
The corporate exodus from Chicago continues. Billionaire Ken Griffin is relocating his hedge fund firm headquarters from Chicago to Miami.
A new round of store closures, including one of the largest locations on Chicago's South Side.
Nate Rogers is live in Chatham with details on this. Nate?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Natalie and Anthony. This news certainly catching the city council members and longtime Walmart patrons off guard. 4 locations to close throughout the Chicagoland area this coming Sunday. Those locations are neighborhood markets in Kenwood, Lakeview, also Little Village, also the Chatham Supercenter that you see right behind me, located here on South Stewart.
Work in the Loop are often looking for a quick and affordable lunch. That includes us here at CBS.
Some of our colleagues noticed there used to be lots of McDonald's locations nearby. Check out all those golden arches. But one by one, you can see most have disappeared. Sonder, once a rival to Airbnb, unexpectedly closed its doors this week.
Guests were left without a place to stay, reservations were stuck in limbo, and Sonder employees were left without jobs.
They operated in 10 countries and 40 cities, including Chicago.
I think it's just inconceivable that any corporate entity would treat human beings that way.
So today I was laid off from my job.
Employees like Ebony Rivera were unceremoniously fired.
I think that this could have been handled a whole different way rather than doing it how they did.
She worked at this Streeterville location for about a year.
Yeah, I just feel heartbroken. It's before the holiday season. You know, it's just really sad to think about that not just us, but every Sonder employee was put through this.
So there you hear it. This is just simple economics. The city passes a budget. Let's use this budget this year as an example. If they pass a budget next year in December, they're going to base that budget on projected property taxes they're going to get next year in 2026. These property tax bills come out every 6 months. They come out in March and then they come out again in September. If in March the downtown corridor says that they're going to collect less money than this budget projects, they're going to go right back to the residents and make up the difference. That's why this budget is so dangerous. Everything about this budget is speculative. It's based on whether or not businesses are going to stay. And we just saw from that montage I just showed you, businesses are already leaving. If businesses were leaving between 2019, pre-pandemic, through today, if they're already leaving, what makes Brandon Johnson think they're going to stay when he's making it more financially onerous for them to remain in the city of Chicago? In 2019, the vacancy rate in the city of Chicago in downtown was 9%. Today, it's almost 30%. In 2019, pre-pandemic, you had 1,600 businesses apply for business licenses to open a business on the Magnificent Mile. That's on Michigan Avenue. This year, it's less than half. It's 784. This bill that he is trying to pass, this budget that he is trying to pass, is going to drive businesses out of Chicago. It's going to hurt the very vulnerable people whom he says he wants to protect the most. But he doesn't know what he's doing. He keeps saying the only options we have are to raise taxes on the rich or hurt the poor. Cut spending. You have to cut spending. And of course, right on cue, anytime anyone attacks his ideas, Brandon Johnson's budget, if anybody even says something about, hey, a Walmart or a store is leaving a black neighborhood, right on cue, you get this response. What's happening right now in the city of Chicago has nothing to do with race, and it has everything to do with class. People in the downtown corridor, the people whom Brandon Johnson regards as the ultra rich and corporations that just have bags of money just lying all around the office, and people are just drinking champagne and having caviar and taking jets everywhere. So he's making the decision, hey, you've got all this money lying around that you're just doing anything with it. Give it to me so I can reallocate it. He's not doing the job that he needs to do as an executive. And I was on the record on this very, very early on. I have a blog called Seaton Speaks. I'll put the link to this particular article down below. But back when it was the runoff between Brandon Johnson and Paul Vallis, this was back in April of 2023, I wrote the following. The residents of Chicago should be able to ride the CTA train without fear of being pushed onto the tracks, mugged, or murdered. Chicago residents should be able to travel safely to and from work and places for entertainment without fear of being carjacked. African American children should be able to walk to and from school without fear of being caught in the crossfire of gang violence. Senior citizens in Chicago should be able to freely travel throughout the city without fear of being randomly murdered or accosted by juvenile delinquents. As with most things, this is not a discussion of race. This is a discussion about safety and the residents of Chicago choosing the next executive who will make safety the #1 priority. Paul Vallis is the answer that Chicago needs in 2023. I made that prediction back in 2023 when it was the runoff between Paul Vallis and Brandon Johnson. And all Brandon Johnson has done since he got elected is reinforce my original idea. Brandon Johnson does not know what he's doing. This man was a 5th grade elementary school teacher for the majority of his career. I said in a previous video, I would not put this man in charge of alphabetizing my M&Ms. We have to take a stand and let these far left, woke, progressive socialists, whether it's Brandon Johnson in Chicago, whether it's Mamdani in New York, whether it's the new mayor out there in Seattle, socialism doesn't work. You cannot take money you can't do this Robin Hood reallocation where you're just going to take money from the rich and give it to the poor, especially when in the case of Chicago and Brandon Johnson, you are spending $16.7 billion when pre-pandemic, this budget for this city was $10.6 billion. You're spending too much money. And guess what? City council is not going to capitulate. I am predicting right now he is not going to get that head tax, and he's not going to get a lot of the other taxes that he wants in this budget. But I am completely open to the possibility that I could be wrong. Perhaps I'm on the wrong side of the issue, and that's why I need you to participate in this conversation. I really appreciate you for hanging out this long. A lot of you are following and watching these videos. A lot of you are commenting. I need you to subscribe to the channel. I want to give a special shout out to 4 followers in particular, all of whom have over 100 comments. That's going to be Crick Walls at 120. That's Izzy of My Life, 107. Tread at 158. He's actually in #1 position right now. And of course, Uriel at 146. I really need you to do me a favor. Drop a like or a hype. That's what I really need you to do. You can go back and you can choose up to 3 videos in the last 7 days and give it a hype. That's kind of like a turbo boost to this video and to the channel, and it helps spread this to as wide a possible audience. I really appreciate all of the support. Like I said, let's get in the comment section and have this conversation about Brandon Johnson and this disastrous budget that he is proposing. He's getting information from everywhere telling him that it's not going to work. He will not relent. Let's get the conversation started. Let me know in the comments how you feel. Thanks for hanging out this long. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one.